don't do it yourself, like alone. And I knew that. That's what they trained you on the MBA. If you're opening a business, don't do it alone. But at the time, I had no hospitality experience. I didn't know anyone in hospitality. And all my buddies weren't willing to give up their careers to like join me on this crazy venture of opening a restaurant. So I did it all myself. And I employed great people that I'm still close to. One of them, Jay, works with us now at Hops. But it was just too much on my shoulders with too many facets that I didn't know enough about. You know, I ended up having to be the head chef for 3 months when my head chef called in sick one day and never came back. And, you know, you learn so much. It's a great experience. It only lasted for a short while. But that took me in the Hops. So that would be my biggest piece of advice is don't do it alone, and make sure you have the right skill sets in your partners to make it work.
Welcome to Captive Conversations, brought to you by Captive Wi-Fi. I'm your host, Adam Forman. This podcast brings you the best stories from suppliers, marketers, and operators from our beloved hospitality sector. Now, let's get on with the show. Hello, everyone. Episode 96. And we have Aaron from ePosaibility and Hops, but we'll get you to introduce your exact title in a bit. And thank you for coming. So what we'll do is we'll start with the first two questions. So we had Max from Brand You're on last. I don't know if you've seen his stuff, but all the cool brands are using like, you know, the really cool coffee cups and the wraps and, you know, wrapping up burgers in the right way. Yeah. They're taking the aspect of branding and just doing it in a more fun and outgoing way. So really cool brand and Brand You're is the name. So his question was, there's a lot of chat at the moment around VAT and the welcome relief dropping it in line with other countries in Europe. If you could wave your magic wand and bring one initiative, absolutely anything, that would make hospitality a better and more positive place, what would that initiative inspire or be?
Yeah, so a big question. And yeah, I think this kind of goes a little bit back to my history of starting in this industry with no experience. Yeah. And starting by opening my own restaurant 13 years ago, or whatever it was. And the idea that when you go into a hospitality business, you don't have necessarily any idea about what makes the business tick, right? Because in hospitality, there's so many factors that determine whether you have a successful business. It's brand, it's the service, it's the product, it's also the business model. And what I think is really important, I started doing this as I went through my career in hospitality, is educating hospitality professionals on the fundamentals of business. You know, most of the managers that I had through my career, even GMs, didn't really understand the P&L. Yeah. They didn't understand what drove the bottom line. So actually, I think kind of a mass educational program from the government even about the skills you can learn in hospitality. It's so transferable skills, right? Unbelievable transferable. And I've done it through my career. I've transferred skills through different industries. And you just need to get people to understand those fundamentals. You still need great hospitality. You need that service, need that product, you need that brand and X factor or location or whatever it is. You need those factors that make the business successful. But at the end of the day, you can have a really cool, sexy looking brand, but it doesn't have the fundamentals right. And it will fall on its face. And if you don't educate all of your staff, right from the new entrants about what are we trying to achieve? How does your actions impact the business and the business model? It'll fall on its face. So I think the government should be encouraging people to look at hospitality as a career, as an opportunity to learn all the fundamentals of business, because you have to do every aspect. Yeah, I remember speaking to a colleague of mine. He worked for Gaucho. This is years ago now. And they call them GM's directors, right? So when you start, you're the director of that venue. But when you start, there's 3 months and you start at the pot wash and you have to do every single job. And at the end, you know, one, you've worked with everyone, and two, there's residents and people understand you. And it was really interesting. And the second thing, we had Mark McCulloch on last year, and he was like, the government should make people either go to the army or work in hospitality. And I think that's definitely you learn so much from it. So that'll be interesting. I mean,
there needs to be more people with transferable skills. Right now, there's not enough jobs available. If we come out of university, there's nothing. So I think, and then there's a lot of apprenticeships in hospitality I didn't even know about. There's loads.
Yeah, and I think, look, obviously the bigger brands that are already kind of successful businesses, they've matured and they already have these programs in place. They're using apprenticeship schemes to, maybe keep labor down and also get a new wave of recruits that could be future leaders, et cetera. But 95% of hospitality are small businesses, and that education piece isn't there. And then anyone who is looking for a job, like, oh, well, I don't want to just go and be a waiter somewhere. It's like, well, wait a minute. If you really leaned into that, it's be a waiter, learn how the business runs, be a manager, then move into the leadership of hospitality.
Yeah.
And not that many people go into it with that mindset. So if you go into it with that mindset, you can make a great career.
Yeah, I know loads of people I'm friendly with that have gone through the ranks, that have started just back in the kitchen or ended up being a GM and so on. It's super interesting, even to the point that my nephew, before he started, he got an apprenticeship. He worked in a pub for like a year, like 6-7 months. He worked in the pub, changed everything, like changed how he talks to people. He dealt with the difficult drunks. He dealt with the really difficult people outside, the lovely people, and he learned so much just people skills from that. I feel like you hit GCSE level, and I think or when you hit college level, maybe you need to get them to spend a month in a local venue. Do you know what I mean? I think it'd be awesome. Absolutely. So yeah, I agree with you. I think it'd be cool. It'd be good if the government in other countries, they have like a digital transformation grant and other stuff. I wish they had a little grant here to send. There's so many fractionals now, right? We could just pick from the fractional pool and send them in to different venues just to fix their issues.
Yeah, I mean there are private businesses in tech that have tried to solve that by having apps for temporary labor, but then most of that labor isn't really trained, and they come in, they have no idea, and they're only there for a shift, and you've got to then teach them everything they need to know in the space of like 5 minutes, and it's never the right experience.
No, it's interesting. There are some really cool tools out there now that allow you to do that, like temporary labor. It'd be awesome to plug in an LMS into it, so when they start, they have that video of like catch up rather than coming to it and learning. But anyway, we can talk about this for a while. Absolutely. So it's really interesting. Okay. Next question. What is one piece of advice you would give to someone opening their first site?
Okay. Well, I'll answer this question, but I actually think I should properly introduce myself so I have credibility.
That's a very good idea.
Credibility for this question. So yes, I got into hospitality 13 years ago. I'd been living in Asia for a number of years. I decided to do an MBA when I came back from Hong Kong, and I couldn't find a decent bowl of noodles. So what I decided to do was open my own restaurant.
Yeah. From
scratch. No hospitality experience.
Even before, did you work in hospitality?
Never. I'd never done a shift as a waiter anywhere. I'd never been anywhere close to it, but I've always been a huge foodie, and you get lots of people that say, I love food and I'm going to open a restaurant one day. And I used to, with my buddies at university, we would talk about, you know what, we should open a restaurant together. And people say that in the pub, like it's pub chat, pubbery. And, but so when I came back and I did my MBA and I was learning holistically about business, I've been working for 10 years before that in film and,
in film, did you say?
I was in the film industry to start my career. Yeah. I mean, I don't want to go through my whole CV, but biochemist by training.
Hold on. Biochemist and
biochemist, then film for shits and giggles. I moved to LA, worked in production, then New York in locations. And it was lots of fun in my early 20s, but it wasn't the lifestyle I wanted, and kind of then went back to biochem in the pharmaceutical industry. And I did that in communications, pharmaceutical communications for 6 years, London, Hong Kong. Yeah. And again, I was, going through different industries and learning. I said, I'm going to consolidate this with an MBA. Yeah. Without really a plan of what was I going to translate that into, but it was coming and doing it, learning about being an entrepreneur and all the different facets of business, and saying, you know what, I can't find a decent bowl of noodles that I've been having every day for lunch for 3 years. Yes. And I'm going to do something about that. And that's why I decided, okay, off the back of my MBA, I will build a business plan to open a ramen bar, raise money for it, and go and do it. And I dove headfirst into it. And
that was here.
That was in the UK. It was in London. I did a year worth. I raised the money that I needed, and I did a year's worth of pop-up events and started getting feedback on the brand. And at that time in 2013, the commercial property for restaurants was insane. You had to pay hundreds of thousands of pounds from the existing tenant just to get the rights to the lease. And then you had to put your rent deposit down. So I spent half my budget just getting a location. It took a year to find.
Wow. Where was it?
Upper Street.
Okay. Yeah.
I took over an old Strata.
Yeah, I remember
they
Strata.
were in administration.
Yeah, I remember.
Right across from the Carluccio's and the Gallipolis. So I took over that site. It was bigger than I wanted. No, it was bigger than I wanted. It was an 80 cover restaurant. So like I was biting off more than I could chew without really realizing. I was fully biting off more than I could chew.
How much of the business plan did you plan when you got to that site?
Yeah, so I pivoted from I was going to be a quick service lunch version of ramen to, we need to be proper casual dining and I need a bar and I need alcohol and I didn't lean into, I thought that just doing great ramen was going to be enough in an 80 cover restaurant. And I think that really works when you have a, hole in the wall and you're just doing one really amazing product like they would in Japan. But I didn't do that. So I think I got my branding a bit wrong. I got my offer wrong in terms of drinks because Upper Street's actually a bit of a party street in reality. My food is great.
It's so local.
It's very local. And we had lots of locals. I mean, Harry Enfield and Paul Whitehouse used to come in all the time. Giles Corn came in, gave us a good review, but that wasn't enough. That's what I learned. It's way more than just having a product. You have a brand. You need the atmosphere. You need the right location for that brand and atmosphere. So learned a heck of a lot. But that then kind of takes me into this question, which is, what advice would you give to someone opening a restaurant? Don't do it yourself, like alone. And I knew that. That's what they trained you on the MBA. If you're opening a business, don't do it alone. But at the time, I had no hospitality experience. I didn't know anyone in hospitality. And all my buddies weren't willing to give up their careers to like join me on this crazy venture of opening a restaurant. So I did it all myself. And I employed great people that I'm still close to. One of them, Jay, works with us now at Hops. But it was just too much on my shoulders with too many facets that I didn't know enough about. I ended up having to be the head chef for 3 months when my head chef called in sick one day, never came back. And, you learn so much. It's a great experience, but it only lasted for a short while. But that took me into hospital. So that would be my biggest piece of advice is don't do it alone and make sure you have the right skill sets in your partners to make it work.
What was the tech stack?
Well, so the tech stack. So this brings us to the heart of ePosaibility. So I met Robbie at the restaurant show.
Okay. Was it before you?
This is before I'd even opened. This was just into 2013. ePosaibility had just started. They were reselling iKentoo, which is now Lightspeed K-Series. They had done a stand at the restaurant show, and I went to the restaurant show to learn. I walked up and down the aisle for 3 days, met every single supplier that I could. That's where I met Jolson Wilson, the lawyers that did my shareholder agreement. That's where I met Robbie. It's loads of suppliers. I met like lots of people in the industry that helped me get the restaurant off the ground. And Robbie was one of them. He was like, we do networks and we're doing this iPad pause because every other pause company was like five grand per till. I was like, $5,000 per till? Like, what does that mean? I didn't budget for that. Oh, okay. And Robbie was like, I'll do it for 1,000.
I was talking to someone else the other day that we were reminiscing that new restaurant budget 25K just for IT hardware. And now it's like, I have everything for nothing. Have it all for free.
It's a massive difference. But back in 2013, it was expensive. And so that I met him at that show. And I was like, all right, this is the right model. Ironically, I also met Christoph from Sorkit, who was with Revel at the time. So I was debating between Revel and Robbie won out. So I put in iKentoo, predominantly because I could do the network stuff as well, and do my Wi-Fi. And that's how I got started. And I was one of the early Deliveroo customers as well. That's when they were just starting. It's supposed to be, we only work with local brands.
I remember.
We know how that's gone. So IPO later or whatever. But and that was my tech stack. I didn't have anything. I didn't have labor management. I didn't have stock management. Didn't even know I really needed stock management at the time. And then I started building my own spreadsheets to go, okay, what is my food cost? And oh crap, I've got too many people running around the restaurant. I'm hemorrhaging money.
Where am I losing stuff?
But again, it was a huge learning experience. I was learning about, I need to get on top of my margins. I need to get on top of my labor. But even though I knew all this stuff from my MBA, when you're in the heart of running a restaurant, you don't.
You're wearing 17 different hats, right?
I was just trying to make sure we could open in the morning and had food to put on the table. So it was a wild ride, and I learned a heck of a lot. But the tech stack,
Yeah.
now I'm in
Oh, it's so
all these
different.
years later.
It's so different to like, I mean, I remember being at Embassy Mayfair in Old Burlington Street in the basement, sitting in the office, hearing the US robotics modems dial up when someone had swiped their card for the credit card transactions.
Yeah.
I'm like, what's that? And there's 15 modems behind me. And on a busy night, they're all dialing up, doing the transactions. I mean, that's old school zonal.
Absolutely.
And I mean, how it's changed.
Yeah, well, the efficiencies have changed massively.
Yeah.
And I think we'll come on to this at some point. But, the efficiencies have changed, but the amount of tech you need has almost gone exponential. And that's where operators are struggling because they're not spending their time thinking about tech. They're thinking about, am I giving a good customer experience? What's my labor cost? Oh, but I need a system to manage that labor. Oh, I need a system to manage my margin. Oh, I need a system to do. It's like, oh, wow, I need all these systems. And that's a lot of cost. And then all of a sudden they're spending their time trying to work out their tech stack.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a really difficult time. And I think it's a little bit better. There's still the old school POS, but we still see that people are sort of being sold the dream. Still, it's not as bad as it used to be. It used to be, we do everything, and the sales guy would give you everything, and then you sign the contract, and then you'd be like, so yeah, where does that thing go there, and how does this work? Oh yeah, that's in development. Yeah, or that and then sales guy leaves, and then you're promised the earth, and nothing happens.
For me, it was as an operator before I knew anything about what an API was or what an integration was. All I heard was, oh yeah, our system integrates with your other system. Great. Yeah. They're integrated. That means they must talk fluently to each other and they know everything about what's going on. So I'll put these two pieces of tech in and then what's the integration? Oh, well, every 24 hours we pull this bit of data into your system and you can get this one report. Like, well, wait a minute. I need it to do this and this and this and this. Oh, no, it doesn't do that. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
What? You're lying to me. That was my operator mentality. You have to remember that when in tech now you go.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to go back a bit because we've got some questions. So my standard questions are, what is the best hospitality experience you've ever had?
Okay, it's a great question. Can I answer it in like 3 parts?
Absolutely.
Because as I said earlier, hospitality is in my view, forgetting what the official definition is your experience. Yeah. And that doesn't necessarily mean it's all about the service or it's all about the food. And those things are very different. And so it's hard to say that only one experience is the best ever, because I'm gonna give examples at both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, go for it.
And in the middle, I'm gonna do a plug for my favorite local restaurant. I live in Balham from Wandsworth. Shea Bruce is one of my all-time favorite restaurants. Always great service, always great food at a good value. Yeah. But probably the best service and just attention to detail experience I've ever had was 11 Madison Park in New York. 3 Michelin stars. It was back when Danny Meyer, who's the founder of Shake Shack and a lot of iconic brands in the US, was just an unbelievable experience. My wife and I were in New York in 2018 and we said, I booked it 6 months in advance and eye-watering $750 prepayment for that. No. Yeah. So I was like, this is price, but it was an experience. But then you take it to the other side. And when I lived in Hong Kong, there was a little place called Nam Ki Spring Noodle Company, hole in the wall. They did pork belly noodles with a cut of pork called secreto in Portuguese. It's like underneath the ribs of the belly. And it's like marbled with fat. It's got good texture to it. And they just made this spicy, tangy pork belly noodles. I went there at least twice a week. Yeah. And that's just a great experience. Queue down the block.
Yeah, that consistency.
Consistency of great product. But it wasn't about service. It wasn't about decor. It was just about the product. Whereas 11 Madison Park was the entire experience.
Was every touch point insane?
From the moment before you arrived, the touch points were great in terms of their communication and their care and attention. And then they knew all about us by the time we got there. And recommendations on cocktails and the food itself and your 12 course tasting menu or whatever it is, which you don't get to choose anything. It just all comes. Yeah, exquisite.
Yeah. I was listening to a reel the other day with him talking, and he said that this is years ago when he was in a restaurant, he overheard a group outside that had come to New York and they never tried the New York hot dog. They were all moaning about it.
On the street, from the street.
Just the street, the street. They were like, we're leaving tonight. And they're like, and he overheard and he went into the kitchen. He's like, you know what? let's give them the New York experience. So he went onto the street, he bought a hot dog, took it to the kitchen, and said, "Make this ours." And then he took it out and did it all nice and pretty, made it all micro herbs and so on, and gave them all a tiny little taster. And then he said, "Look, this is, I heard what you were saying. We don't want you to leave New York without having the experience. And this is our version of it. By the way, I did go outside and buy it from there, so it's not our hot dog." And they literally were like in awe.
Yeah.
And there's just those little things when you hear, I've been to other restaurants here where when things have one of the brands here that do really well with customer service, I think, is Brother Marcus. And I've been there a few times, and my wife's got allergies, and something didn't come right, and they just wiped it off the bill. And we're like, "No." She's like, "I want to pay." She's, "No, I want to pay." "No, this wasn't right for you, and we want it to be right for you." And it's the first time in a while where I've been somewhere where I didn't ask. I don't complain.
Yeah, you're not talking about food or their coffee or anything. You're just talking about that experience of detail that they gave you. I had a similar one. My sister-in-law has a severe egg allergy, and we went to Sticks and Sushi, and we just told them this.
Yes.
They couldn't do enough to reassure us. They were like, "We changed all the chopping boards in the kitchen for the meal that we're preparing for her, and we assure you that there's no cross-contamination, and we've got you covered."
Whoa. They're amazing. We had the same thing recently, my kid's birthday. So
at Sticks and Sushi.
I think the attention to detail and the nothing's a trouble is rare in a restaurant like that.
Especially in a big brand.
And it's quick, fast, food's coming out and so on. So I agree with you. Okay. What's your favorite or most impressive piece of hospitality technology? No self-noms, unfortunately.
Okay, that's fine. So, I think this is carrying on from when my restaurant went down. And I stayed in hospitality. It's less about how impressive the individual tech is, and from an operator, it's about what does it do? How does it impact your operation meaningfully? And so if we fast forward a number of years, and this is the kind of last hospitality job I had before joining ePosaibility and Hops, was at Boundary in Shoreditch, and it was COVID. And as we all know, tech accelerated in hospitality off the back of COVID, and whether it was QR code ordering or delivery, et cetera. But with ePosaibility, we had the tech stack in already, and we had just put Deliveroo in. It was still new to the market because menu aggregation wasn't really something that many were thinking about. Everybody knew, you have Uber Eats, you have Deliveroo, you have Just Eat, and you all have all these three different tabs, like slew of tablets all over the place. But because we had just put that in to say, all right, well, we want to get on Uber Eats and be on Deliveroo and have the optionality for the Albion Cafe and the retail shop. When COVID hit, because we had that, we were able to pivot so quickly to selling everything that wasn't bolted down in the hotel or the restaurants on Deliveroo. So we effectively became a pseudo supermarket when back in those days, people were queuing around the block for 2 meter gaps, trying to get into a supermarket to buy bread or, basics. And we had some of those basics. We had some artisanal products, but I also had suppliers calling me and going, "I've got a side of pig that is going to go off if I don't do. Aaron, can you help me? Because I know you're one of the few that are still trading." I said, "Emil, just send it over." And we send it over, we butchered it ourselves, we vacuum packed it, put it on Deliveroo. We just sold pork chops and ribs and whatever it was. And it was because of the tech, because of that ecosystem of going from pause through Deliveroo to Deliveroo, where we could control the menu and push it. Everybody else who was only on Deliveroo, you could not get through to their help desk.
No.
Everybody wanted to get through to the help desk, and they were making changes manually. You couldn't make changes yourself. Because of that bit of tech, Deliveroo at the time was the most impressive tech for that moment.
I find it really interesting because during that time, even restaurants in Marylebone, which is a quite nice little knit community, they, like Il Barretto when it was open back then, they just carried on making fresh pasta. And they were just selling it. They were selling pasta rather than cooked pasta. They were just selling. They were making it and selling it. So I think it's interesting how that pivoted. But I remember I remember what they looked like because the store was insane at the Boundary. It's upsetting that it's not there anymore, but it's a restaurant now. But because you had like the cafe, coffee, and then you had the restaurant next, next. And I loved it.
In the little retail shop.
Yeah,
so you could come in just coffee, shelves, artisanal
products.
products.
Yeah, grab a coffee and leave with that. So that was
at the time, pasta,
yeah,
sauce, yeast, flour, and loo roll were our most popular products.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, the one of the first orders that came through Deliveroo was for 9 packs of loo roll that we had put on, because at the time there was no limiter on how many you could order. And this little guy, Deliveroo driver on a bicycle, showed up to pick up all these like loo rolls.
Yeah,
he was like,
"What am I meant to do with this?"
Called 2 of his buddies to come and help him.
That's hilarious. I remember when Uber and Deliveroo first started, we used to work with Chilango, and God rest their soul.
Yeah.
I remember when that delivery piece started, we were given like vouchers. So the team all got vouchers, like 20 quid to start to test it out, and it just like they were like, "Oh, this is amazing. We're gonna have lunch." Never turned up. For the first 3 orders, I was like, you know what, I'm going to get pizza from Eco down the road. I'm going to go there. Yeah. I'll get your pizzas, don't worry. And because they're like, no, but I wanted this, like, I got 20 quid off for lunch. This is amazing. And it just never turned up. So they kept getting 20 quid back. Eventually they used it. But I mean, in the beginning times of the delivery piece was like carnage, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was absolutely.
All right. So we've talked about you in film. We talked about you in biochem. So, and then we've touched on the restaurant, which is so interesting. What are there more learnings from that restaurant piece that have sort of stayed with you?
Yes, I think so. So going back to the fact that I did an MBA. An MBA is only useful in giving you theoretical view of what you need to run a business or a successful business. But what the restaurant did was show the true nature of what you need to run a successful business, and how you manage the team and the interactions you have with them, how you run it financially, how you give in hospitality a good guest experience. But that's why the skills are transferable, right? If you understand good fundamentals of business and business models, if you understand how to manage a team or work with customers, work with suppliers, that translates to anything. So, fast forward 9 years from when I started the journey of opening my own restaurant to 2022 post-COVID, Boundary was being sold, and Robbie called me and said, why don't you come and join me over on the tech side? We've been working together for now, like 10 years.
Yeah. So were you consistently in touch throughout? How long were you at Boundary for?
4 years.
Okay.
Yeah, I joined in 2018.
And that was part of the group back then as well, right?
That was actually just after they'd done a CVA. Yeah. And so the only surviving part of the Conran kind of empire was that.
Was that it? That was the only one?
Yeah. Wow. But it was in disarray.
Yeah.
And they, everybody had just been through the CVA, loads of redundancy, morale was low.
Yeah.
Product offering had fallen off. And so coming into that, I was tasked with, let's get it back up.
Yeah. So question for you. So after where did you do after what was after the restaurant?
After the restaurant, it was a bit of consulting.
Yeah.
And then into Big Easy.
Okay.
American Barbecue, Canary Wharf. I know one of your clients.
Yeah.
And then from there to Red Dog Saloon, and then from Red Dog Saloon.
Red Dog Saloon.
So I was in the American. I'm American. I moved here when I was 11 years old, but people think of me as an American. So they're like, oh, well, American Barbecue. Yeah. You're the right fit
you
for this
fit
brand.
Yeah.
So I was in American Barbecue, but then went from Red Dog to I was recruited to come into Boundary and try to help.
So were you in the early stages of Red Dog? Because were they just one in Soho?
No, they were 7 already by that time. So I went over. I was GM of the Hoxton branch.
Yeah,
which was their original.
Okay, so from there, from some Red Dog, and then into
Boundary.
Into Boundary.
Yeah, and that was 2018, 2022.
So that was that firefighting? Like
for the first 6 months, it was bedding in and rejuvenating the staff, the offering.
Yeah.
And that's when we actually started the tech overhaul. So even when I went in, there was a discussion that.
So what did they have before?
Well, so the hotel had a PMS called Brilliant, and
it wasn't brilliant.
It was far from brilliant. It was not even supported. There was no help desk.
Yeah.
It didn't integrate with any of the Expedias or anything of this world, and every reservation was entered manually. Like, well, guys, come on, because they put it in 10 years before. And then didn't touch it. They were too busy with Lutchins and the Parabola, the Design Museum, and all that stuff. So it was just left for years and years and years. And so when I went in, it was about, okay, let's turn this around. And the first thing was change PMS, put Muse in. And then it was like, okay, once we put Muse in, well, what POS integrates with Muse? And that's when, because your original question was, did I keep in touch with Robbie?
Yeah.
And ePosaibility the whole time. The answer was yes. So even after my restaurant down, I would call Robbie for advice and just talk through the tech stack. We didn't officially work together, but then when I got to Boundary and put Muse in, and we learned that iKentoo integrated, you know, we did a review. We looked at Lightspeed's L series. We looked at iKentoo.
Yeah.
We chose iKentoo, which months later became Lightspeed K series, but we chose iKentoo as a product because it's a great product. And ePosaibility did the full install. And that's when we really started working together. And I also put Hops in its early iteration.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, so that was the first iteration.
That was the first iteration. And so once we got the tech going back, the hotel started flying. We brought in revenue management, from going from 60% occupancy to 95% occupancy, from, you know, an average room rate of 160 to 220.
Wow.
Like just by doing those simple things and getting the team stabilized, hired a new front desk manager, the hotel just
it's an awesome location.
Flying. It was great.
Yeah.
I only have 17 rooms, like 60% occupancy on 17
I thought they were
rooms.
more than this. Is that it?
No, they're beautiful. They're all individually branded, very Conran style.
Yeah.
Every single room had its own
That's insane.
theme and its own individual design. And we had 4 loft suites, which were duplexes. So the bedroom was on a mezzanine overlooking. Like, they were beautiful and therefore should be really expensive, but it just wasn't happening at the time. And as soon as we got that back on track, that all of a sudden started becoming a profitable part of the business again. Rooftop was always smashed.
But the rejuvenation of Shoreditch generally as well.
That all helped. But I mean, Dishoom was there, Smoke and Go was there, then Brat opened, and, you know, Red Church Street just heaving. So, but if you have a dilapidated brand, even when it's heaving, people are like, so it was a lot of the rejuvenation. So we did that, and part of that was the overhaul of the tech. But then also from that inventory management side, so every time I went into a business, would go in, they'd have an inventory system, but nobody was looking after it. It had completely fallen down, and it was really hard to use.
But hotels are a bit of a unicorn because it's a mix of F&B there, and then plus hotel and plus
the room service, and that stuff. And but the room service, you know, in a small hotel like that, the Albion was just feeding the room service, and so you could just put it through as, you know, restaurant orders, and then put it through onto Muse to pay their bills. The tech's come on even leaps and bounds since 2018 or whatever when we put it in. But and then we just started kind of actually consulting on as operators on Hops and making it better from an operator perspective. This is what we need. This is what we need. And there was that feedback loop. So we just, myself and Jay was working with me at Boundary, who came with me from United Ramen all those years ago. We just got really close.
So he worked with you at the ramen place as well? Yeah,
Jay was my first hire.
Oh, really? That's so funny.
Yeah, he was my intern because he spoke Japanese. He has first-class degree in software engineering and artificial intelligence. But he really wanted to work in hospitality. I was like, come join me. Let's go.
I love that.
So we've been together on a long journey.
So then, when did the journey go from Boundary to, because you mentioned you were having a chat with Robbie anyway?
Yes, we were working very closely. That whole 4 years, we were working very closely together, and it was kind of good timing for both of us, because after COVID, so Terrence sadly had passed away. Decided his family decided to sell the business. And during that period, Robbie was also having some transition at ePosaibility and Hops, and he said, I need someone to come in and run this with me. We've been working, really well and really closely together, and completely opposite skills, going into business with people that you have opposite skills to. And so he said, okay, let's go for it. So that was 2022. So 4.5 years ago.
Wow. So what was the first role inside the business?
So I was chief operating officer right away.
Of ePosaibility.
Of both. Yeah.
Okay, fine.
So
did that give Robbie more opportunity to move more into getting the Hops platform further out, or
not right away? We kind of together, because he was CEO, I was COO. We were running both companies together, and Hops was still really nascent. I only had one employee when I joined 4.5 years ago. And kind of the ePosaibility team was sort of looking after it. And we've started purposely at that point separating them, building the team out, and that's grown significantly.
So let's move back a little bit. Let's talk about I'll talk about the role in a second. I just want to let people know, what is Hops?
Yeah, well,
that's a good one.
Yeah. So Hops is a hospitality operations platform.
Yeah. Hence the name.
Hence the name.
I like that. Yeah.
And it's the core is inventory management. That's where it started, but it has expanded because we look at it from really an operator's lens. And most of the people we hire into Hops now are, if they're not a developer or specifically a techie, we want them to come from hospitality. So we have two former customers that have now joined us in addition to me and Jay. And so they're doing our support desk, they're doing our onboarding, and
they get it
from the other side.
Yeah, so it's massive. I think the thing when platforms get built and you end up speaking to a support person that doesn't understand the industry, they're lost.
Or when they're calling, what's the situation you're calling from? Are you mid-service? Are you early morning? Is it, are you struggling to close the restaurant? Whatever it might be, you have to understand what are the challenges do they have at the time? Because if you've never experienced that, they're like, oh, well, why are they calling? And like, why are they so frantic? So you kind of have to understand that, I think. But the core is the inventory, but as a platform, as we've expanded it, it's really about the financial control. Because ultimately, and going back to my point earlier,
you mentioned
understanding the fundamentals of your business, whether that's your labor margins or your gross margins on the food and drink. You need a system that can pull that all together. And then you have accounting software now. Yeah. Right. And you're ordering stuff from suppliers, and a lot of that stuff isn't talking. So it's about that full pass through from ordering from your suppliers, procurement to payment in your accounting system. And Hops is that journey. Yeah. And to your operational team doing cash up at the end of the night, you can do that on the till, put your cash up numbers in and do your reconciliation, boom, sends off. Next morning, it goes straight into the accounting system. Yeah. So it's really about connecting that end to end from your sale.
It doesn't feel from going from inventory to more, I think that there's always that challenge because you get inventory, but you still need more.
Yeah, so I always need more. Yeah.
But I think that the interesting piece of what you're talking about is inventory is one piece. But then everyone has like bolt-ons or plugins or this invoice scanning system or have another bolt-on for the finance side. So there's lots of disconnects. So stock control is great.
Well, you kind of have your front of house stack and then you have your back of house stack. And then those two connect via POS into inventory, for example. But then because you've got all the financial control going on here and you've got all the sales going on here and the labor management all going on here, it's all interconnected. Having one system that does all of that is very difficult to build properly, because when you build a single product, it's more focused and can do all these things. But if you're only focused on that single product, it's really hard to then
plug into the rest.
And so there is a balance, I think, to be had. And our ethos is we have the end to end, but we will always want to be able to plug in other systems, because ultimately we want the operator to go, I'm using this accounting software and I love it. I don't want to change it. No problem. Yeah. I'm already using an accounts payable system and I love it and I don't want to change that, but I want to change these other bits. No problem. Yeah. I want the whole thing. No problem. Like, we want to be able to say to a customer, we understand and we will flex to you and your operation. That's the key. From a former operator, like, I didn't want to be told I have to change my whole operation.
It's this or nothing.
This or nothing. There's no flexibility. Yeah. We just don't have that mindset.
Yeah, no, that's really interesting. Okay, so let's go back. So you started as a COO, and then working on the side along with Robbie. So was that building the team out?
That was building the team out, building the business processes out, like really getting both companies firing on all cylinders as a foundation to kind of grow. And then more recently last year, I became the group MD. Yeah. And that allowed Robbie to shift to focus more on the tech side of Hops, which is where, his skills and genius is.
Yeah, and it's interesting because everything's changing so quickly now.
Yeah, and leaning into AI. Yeah. Of course, everybody's leaning into AI, but we're doing it as well, and that's where Robbie's focus is, and I run the businesses kind of day to day.
Nice.
So there's been a shift in the last year, but to begin with.
So you're sitting on top of both businesses at the moment.
Yes.
And then so you're dipping into both parts.
Yes.
Nice. Yeah. So when you started, was there an overview on process using the knowledge of your history and your learning of putting different systems in place?
Yeah, I think it's.
I mean, to be fair, I picked probably years ago. He still had systems in place, but business systems in place are very different to setup systems in place.
Absolutely, I think. Well, ePosaibility is a very established business, been running for a long time, has great processes.
Yeah.
But I think my view on going into any business, and this is where the transferable skills really come in, is the first thing you do is you sit down with the whole team. Effectively, you interview everybody in the business. You sit down one-to-one chat. But what you're really doing is you're trying to go, okay, where's this person's challenge and what's not working in the business and what is working? And then you do that again with somebody else and do that again with the next person. And you do that across business. You get a picture over a couple of months of what do we need to do as a business to shore up the things that are a challenge, and how do we lean into the things that are a real positive?
Yeah.
And so I did the same thing I did every time I went in as a GM in a restaurant.
It's transferable skills again,
transferable skills.
Yeah.
It's a capability of the team and the stresses on the team. And they're ultimately going to help you grow the business. So you need to make sure the environment is right for them. They have the tools in place, and whether that's a change in tech or that's a change in SOPs or whatever it might be, or visibility. That's what you look at.
Yeah.
And did that going into.
So how has it, what's the team like now from when you started to where you are now?
Well, we've grown significantly. We still have, which is a great testament to the business, we still have multiple employees that are 10-year plus. Yeah. With 2 this year having their 15th year anniversaries.
Yeah,
that started
amazing.
as apprentices. Next year, another 15-year anniversary.
It's amazing.
11-year anniversary. So I think our average tenure is still near 7 years, between 6 and 7 years.
That's insane.
Even with these new hires that may have only been with us a few months. So it's a great business to work for and have grown up with it. But now we're bringing in, as we expand and grow, we're bringing in more people, more from the industry, more technicians and engineers to be able to get out there and do what we do, because we're holistic. We can look at any aspect for the tech, whether it's ePosaibility and the kind of POS surrounding stack that feeds into the hops and surrounding stack. We can look at the whole thing as a group of companies.
So then because ePosaibility originally was doing a lot of the tech stuff, right? In the past. So in the beginning, it was like networking and everything. Yeah. I think now you're more focusing on the implementation.
We're leaning into the implementation. We still look after that whole stack, but yes, as a one of our growth trajectories is leaning into implementations. Yeah. Because we've been doing it for.
Yeah, you've got those. What's the SOP? How many SOP? What is it?
Yes. So we have a customer journey with, I think, 115 touch points and 500 SOPs.
That's just insane.
And it's all in our our learning development system.
Yeah, I don't know anyone has that. I mean, if you go to Lightspeed Direct, for example, and the guy just turns up and just gives you and puts it in, and then it disappears. And everything good? Yeah. And then he goes off. It's so different. Like, from our experience of having you coming in and leaving.
Well, I appreciate that.
Compared to, I love Lightspeed, don't get me wrong, they're great. And if the client wants to opt in for it or needs something, because it's not their fault, it's more over the client's like, no, I don't need that, we'll be fine.
Yeah, I think it's about that knowledge base, right? It's that years of experience. And yes, we've documented it all, so someone coming in new can access it. But it still takes someone new coming in, even if they can access 500 SOPs, they're not going to sit down and read 500. No. They got to get on the job. They've got to learn. Yeah. I think it's that level of experience and longevity and loyalty to the business, to what we're trying to achieve.
I think for us, one thing we like is when the tech providers looks at the job and goes, okay, we know who we want to do this, which is good, which is an awesome thumbs up for you guys. Like, if they see they've got a client and it's a tricky one, who do they go to? And I think that's a really nice piece. And the funny thing is I think we had a client a little while ago, and they're like, oh, we want to be able to do this. We want a button that does this and round up a number for charity or something like that. And I called Lightspeed. I was like having a chat, and I spoke to someone at the office, and they were like, no, I don't think I can do that. And then I messaged Robbie, and he was like, yeah, it's easy. Just I was like, huh?
But you have to remember that because iKentoo became K-Series.
Yes.
And we started reselling iKentoo in 2012.
Yeah. And
we were there, when it was being founded, when all the APIs were being developed. Robbie was integral into creating those, and Nathan, who's been with us for 15 years. So we know that product inside out. And I don't think anybody can come in and within 6 months know as much as we know on how it actually works. And yes, it's changing rapidly as Lightspeed's a huge business, and there's a lot of development going on, and there's constant changes, and we have to try to keep up with those changes.
But the core product is still the same.
It's still the same.
I remember Robbie telling me about it being created and so on. I still to this day don't understand how the printing thing's done. I mean, I'm tech. I understand some MAC addresses and bits and bobs, but I get the technology to it. But I'm in awe that no one still hasn't duplicated it. Yeah. No one has found out a way of making the same way.
Well, maybe AI will figure it out.
Yeah, possibly eventually. Yeah. But I think it's insane how the core product is still. It's so interesting on what it does. But this has been really interesting.
I think it's really important to know. Like, I still think of myself as an operator, even though I haven't done it for 4.5 years. And I wouldn't say I'm a technologist, because we have great people in our business being technologists. And I think the important thing for businesses in the space is to be able to see it from both sides.
Yeah.
So we need to, what's the operator actually need, not just shiny tech that says
this will fix everything.
Yeah.
I think, as I said, the interesting thing is that you've got a different view of how things are. So when your team members, you're hearing stuff, or you're having conversation about what's going on, you've got the operator brain of like, actually, there is another way around this. Because sometimes when you're in tech, you're like, okay, this is where we are with the lens, right?
Yeah.
And now you're able to bring that through, which is pretty cool. I think really good. So there's a testament to you and the team. Yeah, I have to say that we have only ever seen success with that, with the deployment and with you guys. And we, my team are quite happy when you guys are looking after a client as well, because we know that, there's a lot of blame culture out there, right? So we've spoken to Valis and others, and Aloha and all of the other till companies that are out there. And the blame culture is massive. It's always been pointed to something else. And I think one of the most important things is when you're calling someone for support, that they understand where you are. And if you've got that relationship together, it's really nice to see that people can work together for it, which is good. So you're also now doing more implementation for other systems.
We are, yes.
So tell me how
well, I think, as a small business owner, you're always looking for, well, how do we expand our business? And while we can do what we've always done, how far does that get you? And so we decided nearly 2 years ago now that we would look at the idea of, okay, well, what is our USP? And really our USP is
get shit done.
get shit done and do implementations well.
Yeah.
Right. And take the burden off of tech partners. And so we said, okay, well, let's look at that. And and so I mean, we've been working with Square for 18 months now, just doing their implementations, and they're growing rapidly. So we've been able to use our skill as implementers to take some pain away from them, because they don't have the internal team. And even if they hired an internal team to do implementations, it takes them much longer to get up to speed. And so think about the cost of ownership to them. And they've just leaned into the idea of third-party partners to do implementations, but they don't want just third-party, anybody who is calling a random engineer to go and do stuff. They want someone who's going to own the tech. And this is where it's a real balancing act of taking on the tech debt. Okay, because for us to really do it properly, we need to learn it. We need to understand it. We need to be able to
break it,
deliver it, talk about it, break it, fix it, talk to customers about it. And so that is a process in itself. So it wasn't like we started doing implementations day one with them. It was a whole training program. We built our own SOPs, put it in our own learning and development, have our own training program. So we can now self-certify our own engineers that come in to service them. And that's, it's a growth.
Yeah, because I remember back in the day, there was, I think it was Amtech or something. There was a company that used to do the Aloha installs, and we would be on site, and I'd be there, and this guy would just turn up, and he'd just turn up with a box of tills, and he'd wire everything. And he'd do a great cable tie.
Okay,
the cable ties were amazing, awesome. All the Aloha tills plugged in, all the printers plugged in, but he didn't have they weren't all set up. So
because it's hardware versus software knowledge.
Yeah, I've got to go call the office, and they've got to download everything.
Almost anybody can go and install the hardware. It's plugging things in, turning it on, making sure the thing loads up. But then it's going, okay, great, it's loaded up. How do I do this?
Yeah.
got to be able to know the product.
Yeah.
The product is the software.
Yeah.
So and that's the technical debt.
Yeah.
The technical debt is not the engineering itself.
No.
It's the combination of going on site and knowing what's
inside. I think it's the hand-holding piece that's really important. I think that a lot of providers don't do that. So it's like you either just. I remember speaking to, we had Charlie from Carlsberg, who was Pop Menu as well. He's like, I'm so annoyed. Back in the day, I just bought Square because I thought it was nice and shiny and it was good. I learned it. It was very he was never in hospitality. He was just got born into it through COVID, building burgers, and he was saying that learning as you go. It was tricky.
Yeah,
and there are online stuff, but there's no time. Everyone wants it done now and so on. So I think if you're able to do what you're doing with that flow of process, it also speeds up everything.
And what I wouldn't want to do is, let's say another POS provider comes to us and says, oh, well, we see what you're doing with other POS companies and your implementation services. Can you do it for us? I need an install next week.
Yeah.
I'm going to go, no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
We need to learn your product before we start going on site, because otherwise we're not actually delivering the value that we have. So we have to go through a process.
Yeah, it's the understanding.
And understanding with a commitment on. So we'll commit all that time and that resource if they're also going to commit to use us for their implementations. And that's how, as ePosibly has a good trajectory there.
Yeah, I think it's a great trajectory. Especially it's interesting how the switcheroo of different providers. Like we speak to people all the time. Like all of a sudden they're on Toast. Now they've gone to Lightspeed. Then they've gone to Square.
Well,
it's
because the cost of implementation has gone from 5,000 a till to, as you said, nothing.
Yeah.
So when you go from there, it's easy to
it's a switcheroo,
chop and change, which is why the service becomes so much more important.
Yeah. If you can, I think it's like in a hospitality environment, it's a retention, right?
Yeah.
It's more on keeping that customer happy, and keeping them bored rather than, because the sales guys are on the ground.
Yeah.
They're more and more. It's insane.
But it's also justifying any additional costs.
Yeah.
Because hospitality is so cost conscious right now. Whether it's the VAT, petition, or it's the subsidizing whatever it is just to try to help on the costs, because labor, NI, minimum wage, everything's just going up.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, where can I cut costs? And they'll look anywhere they can. And if they can't immediately see the extra value and they can cut some of it off, and the cost of change does not have much capital associated with it, they'll just make a change.
I think one of the biggest things when we see when someone changes is the adoption piece is so difficult, because it sounds great. The owner's gone, we're going to go move to this platform, and the adoption there's no flow of process. So then it just sort of like it doesn't really get adopted.
Because the ROI calculation that they have does not include a lot of the time the people hours that it requires to adopt a new system. Yeah. And the more complex the system, the more time you need.
Yeah.
Which is why you also need handholding. So whether it's ePosibly or Hops, we still handhold customers at Hops inventory management. We just hold their hand through the whole process.
Yeah. Which is rare, because you go to another bigger platform that's out there, and all we hear is, still trying to get it set up.
Yeah, the onboarding process.
I'm just trying to book that meeting. I said, how long have you had it for? 3 months? I'm like, are you using it? No. I'm like, so you still paying for it? I don't know.
We're negotiating on that.
Yeah.
Because we're in contract, we should have started paying already.
Right. Do you know what I mean? And it's insane. The bigger platforms out there just don't look after the brands.
Yeah.
I think customer service has got to be done right.
It's got to be done right. I mean, like one thing maybe where we differ sometimes to our detriment is we still charge reasonable onboarding costs to our customers to pay for our team to actually spend the time to do it, because it's not just here's the tech, good luck. It's you are going to pay a bit more up front. We'll be competitive on the SaaS fees, but you're going to pay more up front, because if you do that, you will implement it.
Yeah.
And we will hold your hand to do it. If you don't have that, and you just say, the onboarding is going to be free, the customer doesn't always have the impetus to get it done. And so they don't put the resource next to it. And the other company that's providing the software doesn't necessarily have the impetus to get it done, especially if they've already signed up to get the SaaS fees. And then you lead to this no man's land of
that's
onboarding.
So many brands stuck there in no man's land. I think I feel like you should talk about it more and do it.
We should. We're trying to talk about it more.
I think I like Robbie's posts. They're awesome. They're really good. You should do some posts. We want some content from you, please.
Okay.
We really do, because you make a lot of sense. and listening to you talk, because you also talking from the operators as well as the tech side. So you're resonating on both sides. And I think there's definitely a talking piece when it comes to, streamlining your operation, but then making it better.
Yeah, I think from a personal point, you're right. I do need to do that. I think I felt very burned by social media when I had my own business.
Yeah.
And so I've shied away from it in general in life. But
you need to suck into the American side of who doesn't mind being in front of the camera, and then throw away the British part of you that's cringing of like, I don't want to be in front of the camera. Yeah. So this is a good opportunity.
Yes, I appreciate you having me.
So, but I think this has been awesome. It's been really interesting listening to your story. When we talked about it the other day when we were having a chat, I think it was probably at the Tenzo event. And we were talking about as soon as you started talking about the restaurant, I was like, oh my God, this is going to be, it's a great story. I love it. Like, just literally, I'm going to set up a restaurant. Yeah. It just, and how that all flows.
I'm so naive. I'm going to set up a restaurant.
But you know what? It's insane that you did it. I mean, and you did it, and it's awesome. And the learning, but I think it's really interesting how it shaped your journey.
Yeah.
Like completely shaped how it's flown.
And don't regret any of it.
Yeah.
Right. Like doing something like that. In a business sense, it was like a complete failure, right? But God, you learned so much in that failure.
Yeah. I'm not going to ask you any of these other questions, to be honest with you, because I mean, there was talking about AI. We've done this already, so there's loads, but I think we've gone through quite a bit. So I'm going to give you that round of applause.
Thank you very much, Adam. Thank you for having me.
No, it was awesome. So interesting listening to your story. And then film as well. We have to talk about that another time. So I'm
totally
super, I'm super interested.
Playing chess with Will Smith. We can talk about that.
Oh my God. Yeah. That's annoying. I wish we would talk about that more. Okay, another time. Next podcast number 2. Okay, so our quick fire questions. Best restaurant.
Best restaurant.
Mm-hmm. Could be anywhere.
I kind of already talked about them. I'm going to choose Chez Bruce.
Yep.
Yeah,
okay.
I did. That was my plug because I go there a lot.
Okay. Best burger.
Burger joint in the back of a 5-star hotel in New York City.
Yeah.
It's like
it's just called Burger Joint.
It's called Burger Joint. It's in a dingy little room behind a curtain.
Yeah.
In a 5-star beautiful hotel, and there's a little alleyway with a neon sign at the end of a burger and an arrow.
Yeah.
And you go in there and there's like 10 seats and they're just smashing out burgers.
Yeah. Awesome. Best hotel.
Ooh, Shangri-La in Singapore.
Yeah. I've been there. It's insane.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah, I went on my honeymoon.
At the end of Orchard Road.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That hotel is insane.
Yeah. And they're just going for the buffets.
Yeah, it's insane. There's some hilarious. I'll tell you another story. A story about a friend of mine lived in Singapore for a very long time, and the whole state media is controlled, right?
Yes.
So I'll tell you a story about that another day. But okay, yeah, amazing hotel. Okay, 2 questions for the next guest. Could be operator, marketer.
Ooh. Well, because we didn't lean in it too much, and I have a lot of thoughts on it, it's going to be an AI question. So every conversation you have at the moment has an AI undercurrent. What do you think the real impact on hospitality is? It's going to be a hospitality podcast, right?
It's a hospitality podcast.
So yeah, what's the impact of AI on hospitality as operators?
Yeah, interesting. Question number 2.
Question number 2. What is the best meal you've ever had?
I like that.
My first word was brie. I've been a foodie since I was a baby. It's actually what I care about.
Yeah.
It's good food.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Best food?
Massive. Amazing. Listen, I'm going to give another round of applause. Give everyone a little wave goodbye. Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening.
Awesome.